Welcome to Pioneer Portraits. I am your host, Darla Miller. Join me as we dig into the university experience of Malone students and alumni and hear more about what challenges, encourages, and inspires them. Thank you guys so much for coming out and spending a little bit of your afternoon with me. I know you have final exams coming up, and that's a big deal and probably projects to get done in that. And I know it's a big deal for you ladies, but Jason, I also know as a professor that it's not like we have nothing to do at these times, so I get it. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to highlight our zoo and biology programs. And it's zoo, wildlife, and biology, right? Is that the correct?
Zoo and wildlife biology.
Zoo and wildlife biology.
That's right.
And this is why we start over sometimes, but we don't have to today. But we're going to highlight those programs. And actually, I think one of the things that people may not know is that we have a premier program in the country. And certainly in Ohio, I always say we have the best program for this and that, but this time I actually get to have some things backing it up. So it's super exciting for me to get to talk to you guys today. And I just want to learn about the programs. I know grass is green and trees grow and animals are out there and God gave us gifts. And that's about what I know. So I'm sure there are others that know a lot more about these things than I know. But you're going to educate us. So, Jason, why don't you start just telling us a little bit about the programs and what they entail and what the majors do?
Yeah, sure thing. So we're the Zoo and Wildlife program. It was initiated in 2005. Typically we draw, it's one of the largest programs on campus. So typically we draw people from around the country and students that are really interested in more the hands-on side of animal care, of wildlife care. Some of the outcomes that students might be interested in is pursuing a career as a zookeeper, as a state biologist, as a federal biologist, as an environmental educator, consultant, wildlife rehabilitator. So it's just people kind of broadly under the zoo science and wildlife science umbrellas. We sometimes refer to ourselves as the zoo crew. So if you've ever been in a place where you're kind of feel like you're in the oddball for liking animals, it's just sort of the opposite in our program. We're all people quite fascinated by the natural world and have had a lot of really good outcomes of our program recently too. So we also have a lot of fun.
That's wonderful. I hear you having fun occasionally. If I walk down the hall, you guys sound like you're having fun. I haven't ventured into the zoo too much, but because I don't like crawly things usually. I'm afraid of snakes. I'm just going to say it. I'm afraid of snakes and spiders. But all right, ladies, introduce yourselves. Tell us about your major. I'd love to know what caused you to choose this major. What are you interested in doing? And also specifically, why Malone?
Okay, I can go first. So my name is Laney Barger. I am a junior here. I'm majoring in wildlife biology, and then I'm minoring in environmental science and wildlife rehabilitation. So the reason that I chose to major in this basically starts when I was little, because I was homeschooled. And so my mom really liked nature and would teach us a lot about nature and kind of instilled that love of nature in me at a young age. And then whenever I was a junior and senior, I went to a local career center and studied natural resources there. And so that's where I learned a lot of different skills about like just conservation and fish hatcheries and chainsaws and all kinds of things like that. And so my decision to come to Malone wasn't until February of my senior year, when I was actually doing an interview for a radio broadcast at Buckeye Career Center. That's the career center I went to. And they asked what I could do with what I learned at Buckeye after I graduated. And basically, I was like, I guess I can work in landscaping or tree service work. And I knew I wanted to do something more than that. So then I started looking for colleges in the area. And I found Malone basically because of the wildlife biology program. Usually schools just have biology or some general track like that, but I knew I wanted to do something with animals, hopefully. And so I was looking at Malone and a few other schools, but Malone really stood out to me as it was a Christian school, and that's very important to me when studying the sciences, is to have a Christian framework. And that is why I ended up coming here.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I'll come back.
Okay.
All right.
I'm Sarah Imhoff. I'm a junior here as well. I'm studying zoo biology, more of that kind of track. And then I have minors in psychology, environmental science, and wildlife rehabilitation. Basically a double major at this point, but it's great. And I decided to do this major just because I have fallen in love with animals ever since I was young. We would have zoo passes like every single year. My family and I would attend frequently, and it was always just like a big part of our family. And we live in kind of a neighborhood where there is a lot of wildlife around us. So we have plenty of deer that would have babies in our backyard. And I would always just be so interested and fascinated with animals and how they like work and everything. And so I wanted to be a veterinarian at first, but it became a little bit too much everything else like in between. And so I was like, okay, I kind of just want to study them and just work with them and basically just get to hang out with animals all day is like my dream. So I was like, okay, I want to be a zookeeper. Like this seems like the most fun thing ever. And like that's just like kind of what I want to do with my life. And so while I was looking for colleges, I knew that that was what I wanted to do, and I wanted to stay near my home, which is like up towards Cleveland. So I wanted to stay in Northeast Ohio. There's not very many colleges in this area, but after touring and getting to see a bunch of different colleges, like Malone just very much stood out to me, mainly because of their zoo program. Having a zoo on campus is something that no other school in Northeast Ohio has, which is something that really drew me towards to this school. Because we were able to be hands-on immediately our freshman year, and then that was just, I've never had animal care experience in my life, so I knew that that was going to be like a very important thing for me. So that was very important, and obviously also my Christian faith is very important to me as well. So having a school where all of my professors like are mostly identified with the Christian religion, seeing that their Christian faith connects with their teachings is very important to me as well.
So I don't know, we say it frequently, but just so that people do know, all of our professors and our staff, in order to work at Malone, have to profess Christian faith. They have to believe that Jesus is the Son of God and that the world was created by God and all of the things that we believe. Check out the Nicene Creed if you need to make sure. But I find it so interesting and not surprising, because I think this world is a gift that God gave us, and we need to treat it like we would treat something that our parents give us that's a precious gift. I'd love, though, Jason, to hear how you see that playing out in your classroom. I'd love, ladies, to hear if there's something that you can say, this is something I feel like we've been taught as Christians in our classes, is this with a Christian viewpoint on creation care.
Right. I love that about our university. I feel like I see things very holistically, to see the heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim the work of his hands. I almost feel like not to share that would be telling students only half of the story. So being able to understand more about God's character and creativity and power through what he's made. And also we talk a lot about creation care, and that's simply kind of another word for environmental stewardship. But I think the word stewardship begs the question, well, we're stewarding things on behalf of whom? And here at Malone, we identify that as God revealed to us in Scripture, in the Bible. And we view ourselves, take very seriously the job to care for and protect his world out of love and respect and obedience to him. But also, interestingly, I think, so that creation does its job of displaying God's power and glory. So when people see it and people see ecosystems working properly and the animals interacting and kind of see things functioning the way they're supposed to, they could reach out, they could perhaps ask questions like, where did this come from? This order, this design, this beauty, this complexity, almost like the feeling that you get by staring at the ocean or the skies during the eclipse. And so I think it's a way to also share our faith by caring for his world in a way that it continues to do its job.
So you've answered the question ahead of it, but the idea that science and God's creation can't go hand in hand, I'm sure you have dealt with that in class over and over and over. Just how do you go home, ladies, and talk about that? What are things that you would say in class to that? Because I do think people feel like
Right,
they
I
can't
know.
be connected.
We talk about that a lot, and everybody sort of comes from different places. So I've heard from some students say, I didn't know that science and faith could coexist in a healthy way. And I just really didn't see that model. I kind of thought it was an either or thing. If you're a Christian, you can't be a scientist, and vice versa. But we just try to take a step back. There's specific questions, things to kind of figure out in details. But I think overall, there's a lot of freedom and confidence from reading God's word and recognizing him as the creator. At Malone, I don't think we're afraid to turn over every rock and ask difficult questions because we're confident in that the creator has revealed himself to us through nature. Sometimes it takes humility to admit we don't have everything figured out, all the details of how everything works. But seeing the beauty in creation and knowing God and seeing his power, studying the complexity. When I study bird migration or when I study physiology, animal physiology, or I study cells, things at the cellular level, astronomically speaking, any level of organization that you see in our world, I think is reflective of God's order and handiwork and power. So yes, I'd say just the opposite is true. When you study the world, it just, I think, begs the question, wow, who's the creator? And wow, isn't this awesome?
I love that. Tell me, ladies, and I need to tell you, I'm not a scientist, so I go off script frequently. It's a guideline, so just hold on. Tell me something about Malone that surprised you. You came for a program that you knew was a good program and a science-based program. You came because we are a Christian institution. Tell me something that's been a wonderful surprise that you didn't anticipate.
I think for me, one of the things is like the broad range of students that we do have, because our teachers are all Christians, like seeing the different aspects of other people's beliefs and all of their backgrounds, basically, just like kind of seeing like how they grew up and like how Malone is also changing them and how they may not have come here for the same reasons I have, but they are seeing them now. It's like I love making new friends and meeting new people, and it really does help you bring a new aspect even to animal care, because everybody has a different way of taking care of an animal, and just like getting to meet so many different people here has been super awesome. And I feel like that's like something that like kind of like surprised me, is like how many different backgrounds people really have coming here. Because people come from all over the country. I know someone who even came from like out of the country to like come here. And it's just like, yeah, like seeing the reasons why other people are pulled to come to this school as well has also been really impactful.
That's wonderful.
Mine's going to be similar to that. But I think the most surprising thing for me freshman year was how far away some of the people were, because I only live 45 minutes from here, and I commuted my freshman year. So it was really a cool chance that I just happened to be like located so close to Malone that I could be in this program. And there were people who were like, I've been wanting to go here since 8th grade, and I'm from New York and California and Pennsylvania. Just people from all over the place coming specifically for this program was really neat to like meet those people who were so passionate about it and came all this way when it was basically in my backyard.
You've been given a gift.
I have. I really have.
I know, because I share in that gift. I get it too. Jason, I know you guys send kids or young adults into all sorts of interesting opportunities for learning and internships and hands-on things, not just here on campus, but off campus. And I feel like we've gone pretty far afield with some of our internships. Can you tell us about some of those?
Sure. I have been our internship coordinator in the science program for the last 11 years, and I think I've supervised over 150 internships. So it's really interesting to see the Malone alumni network expand in animal care facilities and state agencies pretty much throughout Ohio and much of the United States. So we maintain an internship job board, and Timke and I encourage people to stop by and check it out, but we have little pins and like little blurbs and stories about each person. And so, it's just really encouraging to see people come in freshman year, try to figure out their career and calling and what it looks like and being equipped in healthy ways to go out in. And if you pick a zoo in Ohio, the Toledo Zoo, the Cleveland Metro Park Zoo, Columbus Zoo, Cincinnati Zoo, Akron Zoo, I mean, we have Malone alums that have worked there. Most of the time they're currently working there. So, several times every year, almost every month, a former Malone grad reaches out to me and asks me if I have any qualified students that they could send me. So I feel like, and then there's example after an example of students with kind of unique trajectories. I think Jesse who came in who wanted to be a herpetologist for the state of Ohio, and that's a person who studies reptiles.
I'm so glad you told us,
and
because I
everything.
didn't know what a herpetologist was.
So now he works for Ohio State as a herpetologist from Columbus. Natalie wanted to be a dolphin trainer, and that's exactly what she's doing. I could give Rebecca is a bird trainer. She leads bird tours throughout the world. I could give example after example. Miranda wanted to be a primate zookeeper at Cleveland Metro Park Zoo. So sometimes they have another student wanted to be a dragon keeper, a keeper of bearded dragons and so forth, also in the herpetologist field. And she's doing that down at the Ark Encounter. So it's just pretty interesting to see people, some with no clue, some with a very clear idea of where they want to go, and then sort of like help them along. It's one of the most gratifying parts of my job, is to come alongside them and to help equip them, to equip them as best we can to think about faith and science together, and then to see them out changing the world. It just brings a smile to my face, when you get texts, when you get emails, just saying thank you, or like providing an update saying that they actually got to where they had hoped to go. And sometimes it changes. So sometimes people change career fields, and I am excited for those two when they're come and find their purpose and calling and get there. It's a win.
That's awesome. All right. What's your most, have you done internships off campus, I'm sure. What was your most interesting, either internship, or if you don't want to call one out because you're going to be looking for jobs, just keep that in mind. Maybe you want to talk about an interesting experience at one of them.
Want me to go? I'll go first. Okay. So I've done my internship. I did it last summer. I worked at a wildlife rehabilitation center in Kirtland, Ohio called Penitentiary Glen. And I also worked as like a seasonal, so I kind of got like a paid internship. It was really awesome.
Wonderful.
But so I think just like being able to have that experience, I had to have a wildlife rehabilitation specific internship because of my minor. And after working there, like I wanted to try to do something like that just because I didn't know if that was exactly like where my calling was to go. And after it, I don't really think it is, but it's not because it's bad. It's just not for me. But that experience did really help me in my decision making of what I want to do with my like future career. And it's not with wildlife rehab, and it really solidified my idea that I want to be a zookeeper and like work full time like with a specific animal instead of like having animals come and go.
I'm going to interrupt you right now, and I'm going to say that is a beautiful, my little teacher brain and heart is exploding, because what a great way to say, this is not what some people would say, oh, that was a success, a booming success, and yet it really was. You did a good job, and you still said, this is not for me, and this other direction is for me, and that's what an internship should do.
That's exactly why I enjoyed it so much too, is because it not only gave me like the wildlife rehabilitation side, but they did have educational ambassadors as well. So I did get to still work with either animals that did come and go, or I got to work with animals that like were there forever. And I think that like I was able to make connections with those animals, and that is really what I want to do with my future. Is I want to be able to build connections with an animal. I want to train it. I want to like enrich it every single day. Like I want it to become my best friend, basically. So I think that that's really what stood out to me in that experience, is because it did give me both sides of the spectrum of like both ideas that I kind of wanted to do. And it really did solidify my one idea. So I think like basically something that really stood out was because of that, and like getting to work with I got to work with like birds, reptiles, mammals. It also solidified I want to work with mammals. Not really a bird person. Sorry, Dr. Corder. I love learning about them, but they're not what I want to work with one day. But I think that also helps solidify like my future plans, is I definitely really want to work with mammals as well.
Okay.
So I've done 2 internships while I've been here. So last summer, I did an internship with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers as a Student Conservation Association intern, basically, I followed around a natural resource specialist for the summer and learned what that job would look like, a little bit with a park ranger. And the Army Corps of Engineers is in charge of different dams in Ohio and actually all over the country. But I was at 5 different lakes in the area, and basically I would go around and do some bird surveys and herp surveys, basically a few water safety presentations at schools for kids, and working at fairs, like educating people about water safety and invertebrates and that sort of thing.
So is a herp survey checking out the lizards?
Yes. Yes, it's looking for
I can't be
salamanders
taught.
and turtles. Yes, you're learning.
I told you, I know nothing.
Yes.
Teach me.
And so that was a really awesome opportunity, and I really loved doing that sort of work. And then this semester, I just finished my other internship last week, but that was at SIPO Wildlife Conservation Center as a wildlife rehabilitation intern. So very similar to what Sarah did. Sarah actually she actually volunteers, that's the word, right there, right now. So we got to work together, which was fun, And so that was an interesting experience. Not my favorite, I don't think, just because I really liked my Army Corps of Engineers internship, and that's where I really would like to work eventually, being a park ranger or something of that nature. So doing the wildlife rehabilitation was just to see if that's something I would be interested in. And I'm interested in it, and I think it was really fun, but that's not exactly what I want to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you do realize that can totally change
Oh, yes.
in the next... Yeah, okay. Just making sure you know.
For sure.
I don't want you guys to be shocked. No, somebody didn't tell you. Okay. Sarah, I feel like I know there's a little animal in
an
there
elephant
because
in the
I have
room.
seen him.
Oh, is he peeking?
Yes.
He has been.
But he doesn't make me nervous.
No, he's very
not
cute.
slithery, so that's okay. He's not a herp.
No.
What's the rest of the word? Herp.
Herpetology is like the study of like snakes and
So-
lizards.
So what do we call? Yes, I see you, baby. What do we call a snake and lizard?
A herp.
A herp. Oh,
Yeah.
look. It's a language thing.
Or a reptile, whichever one.
Well,
Yes.
this little guy is peeking out.
He sure
He knows
is.
that we're interested in seeing him. So I do think we should tell us who we have.
Sure. Of course. So I have brought one of my mammals from my collection. I love to say it's mine because I'm basically in charge of the mammal collection at our zoo. Since we have birds, we have reptiles, we have mammals, and we have like natives and aquatics in our zoo. So we have to have student team leads is what we call them. And there's 2 per collection, so that way we can work together. And then those people are in charge of their collection, basically. They are in charge of making sure they have all of the right stuff. If anything goes wrong with the animal, they are the first ones to know. We are not like the top, obviously, Kristen Beck is, but we are like the ones that if a student ever sees like a problem happen, we are the ones they go to. So I am one of our mammal team leads this year, along with Micah Burkett. So I brought one of my beautiful little mammals with me today, and his name is Mary. Oh, he's a little scared. He is a short-tailed possum, which not many people are going to know of. They are part of the marsupial species. So if you're thinking marsupial, you're thinking like kangaroo and koala. He is part of that, and the same thing as like a Virginia opossum, except he is one of the smallest marsupials. Come here, Bubby. So here he is. This is Mary. So yeah, he's a short-tailed opossum. So very similar to their bigger siblings, basically, is the Virginia opossum. The only major difference with him is that he's one of the only marsupial species that actually doesn't have a pouch. So when you think of a marsupial, you think like a joey and a kangaroo pouch. But for Mary, he is actually way too small to be able to have a pouch. Obviously, he's also a male, so he wouldn't have one in the first place. But so he is very looking around all of a sudden. So he is mostly a domesticated species, so they are not really found in the wild, and if they were, they would be found in like close to Brazil or like Argentina, like those kinds of places like South America. And they love to hide in trees. They have a prehensile tail, which means that they are able to grab things, and they also use it for balance. So his tail is used for those kinds of things. I know you're looking around. He came with his brother Pippin, sorry. And if you don't marry him Pippin, that's from Lord of the Rings, all of my fans out there, thank you. I came up with those names myself. But yeah, they came to us just this year, so they are part of our, like, one of our newest critters in our collection
Nice.
in the zoo.
And where do we get those animals?
Oh, so they come from all over the place. So these guys actually are one of the only animals that actually came off of Craigslist, which is one of
Okay.
our fewest animals that have actually come from there. But that is because they are so unique and they are a domesticated species. But a lot of our animals have come from either they have been rehabilitated or they have come from basically rescues. You're gonna jump. Where you going?
Don't get away, little guy,
He's
because
probably just gonna climb up onto my head.
there might be traps in here.
Better no.
Stay.
Yeah, you're becoming a little too rambunctious. Let's put you back here. All right. Now that he's away. But yeah, most of our animals come from either rehabs or they come from rescues. So we have a lot of animals in our zoo right now that were actually either from like hoarding situations or they came from different like areas like that where we had to basically rescue the animal. A lot of them are illegal to actually keep as pets in the state of Ohio. So a lot of them have been removed from their homes because it's illegal to
was
have
illegal.
them, such as our prairie dogs. Those are two big animals that you're not allowed to keep as pets, but they were found in a animal hoarder house, and so we removed them, obviously. Well, we didn't remove them, but
Someone removed
removed them, and then we got them. And then we also get some of our animals from Kristen Beck, who is a wildlife rehabber also in Stark County, and animals such as like our Virginia possums, our 13-line ground squirrel have come from her. And then we also have a ton of different birds that have come from different bird like homes. We have a bird vet that we actually go to a lot, and she gets a lot of animals in that no longer can be at their homes, so she gets them and we get them, and then yeah,
All right.
from all over.
Okay, well, so we know we go to local zoos. We know that we have people donating animals, and that we have great experiences for our interns. I would like to know, because we always want to come back to this, two things. How have you found the zoo crew sounds like its very own community. So, and I will tell you, Greg and I had a meal at our house auctioned off last year, and it happened to be Zoo and Bio kids that won it. And so we had a very interesting conversation at our meal, and it was great. And afterwards I said, ooh, I'll bet they would enjoy seeing this Earth too, planet Earth too. It was the cutest thing ever to watch a bunch of little zoo and wildlife people who love animals and love God's creation get so excited about everything. And I learned more than I ever would have thought from, I thought I had already learned a lot, but then I learned a lot more. So it was wonderful. So I know you guys have community there. Tell me about some of the other community feelings that you have or options that you have here at Malone. How have you found community?
I would say for me, I'm currently the co-director of spiritual formation on Student Senate. So Senate as a whole has been a really cool community to be a part of, just people who are in different parts of campus, because it's co-directors of intramurals and commuters and multicultural and just people with a bunch of different reaches on campus. So getting to know all of those people who maybe I wouldn't have encountered, since we are usually in Timken Science Hall studying something at all hours of the day. So that's been cool. And then as a co-director of spiritual formation, I run the Spiritual Life Committee, which is a committee of different leaders on campus who are running life groups and such. So getting to know those people and investing in those people has been a really neat opportunity as well.
Wonderful. All right, Sarah.
All right. I think some of the experiences that I've had, I think we keep adding new ones every year, but like one thing that we did this year is we went on an overnight trip to like a little campsite. I think it was Buckeye Camp, something like.
It was a departmental retreat.
Yeah, departmental retreat. So like not only like Zoo and Bio, but like everybody was able to come. It was mostly zoo kids because we do have such a strong connection, but also getting to see like some other different biologists and like seeing like biochem people. We all went to this camp and like just had so much fun with each other. Like we played games like with our professors, and like getting to have that connection with them was like, it was such a great time. Like it was such an experience that like I could never replace. So being able to have like those kinds of experiences, and I did not go on it, but I think Laney went on it this year. We also, over spring break, they went to Florida, and like got together a bunch of different Malone students. We're able to go to Florida on a trip. And just like having those kind of different opportunities to actually like be with each other outside of school, even like being able to implement what we've learned in the classroom outside of class with each other. We just bounce ideas off of each other, and it's such a wonderful experience to like be able to have those different opportunities as well.
That's wonderful. All right, Jason, tell us about community that you have formed. We never ask our professors this question, but I think it is, so I'm putting you on the spot.
Sure. Right. Well, I tell you, when you feel a sense of shared mission, I feel like community develops pretty quickly. So I currently am a faculty senator, so meet with other faculty members across campus to represent the faculty in a lot of ways. I've found community there. And, within our department, we also have a lot of fun at department meetings, and outside we have departmental meals and things like that, usually like some cookouts or some get-together for meals at the beginning and the end of the semester. So it's we really do have a lot of fun with the students. Sometimes we loop in the students. A couple weeks ago, we had a departmental bowling night. Okay. So there's just a lot of ways to, and there's flexibility too, I think, for faculty members to kind of contribute in different ways. They feel called, or it doesn't look the exact same way for each person.
Of course.
But to all be part of the same shared mission is a real privilege.
I agree. I think it is. All right. If you were going to tell future Malone students sitting out there who are thinking, oh, maybe I should choose this school or this school, no, this is why you need to come to Malone, what advice would you give, and what would you say to them?
I would say to anyone who's thinking about coming to Malone that, first of all, it would be the best decision ever, especially coming from someone who did not want to go to college originally. Coming to Malone and realizing that the professors cared about my education and that they wanted to invest in me spiritually and also academically was really cool to me. And that also science is hard, but it's definitely something that anyone can do. I think you don't need to have a very strong, scientific background in order to get into this. As I was homeschooled, I had never dissected something before or done any sort of experimental research, really. And so I was a little bit nervous about what that would look like, but the professors were there every step of the way, teaching me exactly what I needed to do, and then basically giving me confidence to go further beyond that. So I think anyone should come to Malone. It's also just really fun, which can't complain about that.
All right, Sarah.
Well, I agree with Laney. You should definitely come here if you're thinking about it. I just think our programs here, not even just zoo and wildlife, all our programs here are just so well built, and they really do give all of students. I have so many different friends that are outside of zoo and wildlife that really have made an impact also from going to school here. But coming from a zoo and wildlife kid, I mean, having the experiences that you can get here, are just, you can't get them elsewhere. Having that student to teacher connection has been really impactful because, I mean, my teachers have helped me with everything. Coming to college was obviously a very big step in life, but they made it feel like home. They were basically my second, parents, basically. They every one of us is basically their children. They want us to succeed. They want us to, grow and develop. And so that's just super impactful. And then obviously our zoo is so amazing. We keep growing it, we keep building on it, and I think it's just one of those experiences that you just can't get anywhere else. Sure, if you go to Kent State, maybe you'll have some chances at Akron Zoo or something, but you get to go in and work every single day, in this zoo, and that's something you can't get anywhere else. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. Well, I spend a lot of time talking about the school to people, and I always say that we have wonderful programs that educate our students to be ready professionally, and that they can go in and be as qualified or more qualified than they would at any other school. That's one kind of education, but also the spiritual formation and just caring for you guys, I think, is another kind, and that's something that I am particularly proud, and I feel like the grandma, I guess, of everybody, but so proud of that. And then I meet students like you, and Jason, get a chance to work with someone like you, and I'm just really pleased. So parents, if you're wondering why you might want to send kids to Malone, these kinds of people are why. So thank you so much for spending a little bit of your afternoon with me, and I hope you had fun, and thank you for bringing Mary. Thanks again for joining us today for Pioneer Portraits. I hope you will pray for Malone University. Send us students. Come visit our campus and speak well of us. If you like what you hear, share this episode on your social media or tell a friend the old-fashioned way.